All right, I'm recording. All right, so here's all right. So we have the first-person character. We're going to keep that as the game mode. I set the new possession game mode that I made. So the game mode. So from any character class. So take a look at this one. So from any character class, let's say where's event tech. So here's event tech. This happens every update. I can always get the current game mode from any blueprint that's currently in this level. So whatever this is, I can just grab it from anywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I'll need to cast it to whatever the game mode we're using, because right now this is a regular game mode. I need to know what type of game mode it is. So here's the cast, which again, we're going to remove and we're going to do this with an interface. But before we do that, let's actually set up the basic rule set. So in the game mode, it's just an object sitting in the scene. It has begin play. It has a tick. We're going to create a variable called, we'll say possession level, or possession value. Say it starts off at 0. Now, let's create some basic functionality and then get to what the format I want to show you. Increase possession decrease possession. I think that's how you spell. Oh, actually, you know what? Make this easier. Let me make the float first. Perfect. And then we'll say duplicate, decrease possession. So an increase should take whatever the value is. We add the two together. So nothing fancy. So that increases the possession value. This decreases. So bring here, possession value, subtract it by whatever this is. Does that make sense, everybody? So that should be straightforward. So let's say, for example, there's an object in the scene. Let's just create a dummy actor. Give it a little visual. Jesus Christ. There we go. Then I will create a little, do a sphere collider, do it like this, attach that there. Call it the collision sphere. Make this a little bit bigger. So I want to drop it in the scene. All right. So all I'm going to do is that if I run into this object, it's going to increase the possession level. So that's my test bed right now. How am I going to do it? Well, let's just do a simple test. I'll go to here. I'm going to go to scroll down. When something overlaps this, so something runs into it, now I could do this a number of ways. Let's just start off as simple as possible, and then let's try to make it a little bit more efficient. So I'm just going to try to cast to the first person character, if it is the first person character. So if this is true, so you have one or two ways. So let me talk about some structure here. So one, I could keep the variable in this character. So I could create a possession value here. So where we're at, we're in the first person character. So I could increase the value here if that makes sense. So I could have all this logic in the first person character. It could be done. I don't see why it would fail. So it would work. The only issue that I see is that if you had different characters or different things occurring in the game, everybody needs to be aware of where this first person character is and need to be able to get access to it, because all your mechanics is based around this value, which I'm assuming, which is whatever this percentage is. It's all based around this. So characters, pawns, this is a pawn by the way, come and go, and I might have different modes where I could basically maybe go into a spirit mode, which would be a different type of pawn I'm controlling. So there could be a number of ways. So this maybe might be the best place just for the sheer fact of what I plan on doing with this game. But I'm saying it can be done here. I'm not saying it can't, but thinking ahead, since this is such a big mechanic, a like core part of the gameplay, my gut instinct says not to put it here.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has questions or wants to argue, and again, I'm all for arguing. Arguing's not bad. Please let me know. So I'm just speaking out what I believe my gut instinct says. So right here, I need to test to see if this is the first person character. If it is, then I'm going to get the game mode. All right, is it the game mode? Then I'm going to cast that to our possession game mode. And then from here, increase possession. We'll say by 10. So simple, straightforward. And just to give us some debugging to make sure it's working, let's do after increases, we're going to print saying, damn it, possession value is now blah, blah, blah. And then what we're going to do is just convert that. Oh, damn it. I have to append it. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to print off whatever the value is.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever my possession value is. I'll do the same thing for decrease. Oh, shit. There we go. All right. All should work here. I walk up. Possession value is now 10, 20, 30, 40.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So far, so good. Now, first off, which is now we're going to try to make this a little bit cleaner. This kind of irks me because casting all the time, while it's perfectly fine, it's going to run. So I won't say fine. Well, it's like, this is perfectly manageable. This will run. Not necessarily the way I would want to do it, because this, again, casting's expensive. Casting is just a whole bunch of steps I might not need to do. Okay. So the first part is I'm going to improve this part. Actually, let's do this part. Let's improve this part. So what I'm going to do is create interfaces. So here's where the interfaces come. So interfaces are effectively creating a survey for things that you can basically call or fill out. So I'm going to go to blueprints, or actually no, not there. It's blueprints under here. Create a blueprint interface. I'm going to call this I blueprint for interface blueprint. Game mode possession. Now, why am I doing this? So again, and please stop me at any point. So I'm getting a little bit more high level. Why I'm doing this is I'm going to create this kind of like filter that anybody could talk to this interface on this game mode, and I could have so here's the interface. So interface. I could have all these objects wanting to message the game mode. And what I'm doing is that I could have different types of game modes depending on the game I'm playing, but the possession mechanic is probably going to still be there. The idea behind it is I'm going to create this interface that all these things use, that these guys are not going to be aware what specific type of game mode it is. All they're going to be aware of is the filter in front of it, which is always going to be the same filter. So from here, it will then basically filter correctly to the right one, because what I'm doing is it's basically kind of masking. So I'm masking these objects against what specific type of game mode they're playing through this interface. This interface also allows me to do blind calls without casting, which is the other benefit I'm getting from this. So these objects are going to go against this interface and not know what specific type of game mode. So I can have different game modes depending on what maybe the level is or what the type of game mode, which is a puzzle, or maybe it's an escape mode, doesn't matter. So I'm going to use this interface. Because once I develop this interface, I can create as many game modes as I want, and this will just stay the same, which is great. So what I'm trying to avoid is creating specific code depending on what type of game mode I'm playing. And again, I'm not doing much, but all I'm going to do is this, which is and actually we're going to clean something up. We'll call this, and we're just going to create one mode. So instead of increase and decrease, I'm just going to change it just to one function. So you just put in positive or negative. So I'm just going to change it to this. And then over here in the game mode, I'm just going to create just one value, which is change possession value. Going to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I won't need this in a second either. So I'm going to get rid of that. All right. So what I'm doing is creating a blind interface call such that any game mode, doesn't matter what game mode it is, can implement this interface. So IBP game mode possession. When I do that, I will now have this value, which now I can implement the event. So someone has called this event against this game mode. So from here, then I'm just basically going to take whatever the value is, plus whatever this possession value is, boom, boom, boom. So that's it. I'm just basically creating the implementation for this event, which just allows me to run this. And then what this clears up on this side, on this dummy shit, is that instead of doing this, instead of doing a cast, I could just say change possession value. To 10. Now, what's going to happen is it will either this game mode has this function or it doesn't. If it doesn't, it's just going to get ignored. If it does, it will then increase the value by 10. So I have change nothing right now. So, boom. Let's make sure. Okay, so. It's fine. Let me make sure the collision's still happening. All right, perfect. So this is happening, which means, so I did save that. Okay, yes. Let's toggle this breakpoint. Oh, I don't have the print string anymore. That's why I didn't see the message. So it was working. So let's do the append for string. Value is now blah, blah, blah. Perfect. All right. I just got rid of the print string command.
Mm-hmm.
Remove the breakpoint. Beautiful. So still where we were, but I got rid of the casting, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can take it one level further. So right now this is working that it specifically has to be the first person character for this to happen. I might not need to do that. I could do this. I could do the interface one more time. So I created possession mode for this. Now I can create a possession mode for just anything that can generally be possessed, which right now is just going to be the player. IVP for interface blueprint. Possessible. Or yeah. I know. Is there any word besides like think? I'm creating an interface for things that can be possessed. Is possessible like the best word? Anybody have a better suggestion for a name?
I mean, it sounds fine to me.
Yeah,
It sounds fine, but it looks awful. Or
I know.
anyone.
I mean,
It looks awful. But I guess we're going with
can
it.
be.
Yeah.
I'd say go for it now. Why not?
All right, we're gonna go for it. It looks awful. It sounds fun. It's. I was just looking. I was like, God, that just looks ugly. All right. So now what it is now I could basically go to any blueprint and add this interface to it. IVP possessible. So any class can now have this, and now I don't need to do that there. I now should have the interface for it. I did add it, yes. Where's the... Change session value. Where's the event for it? Oh, compile? Oh, there's no... I'm an idiot. I haven't even created a function for it yet. Derp. All right, need to create a function. All right, so this function is that check to see if, if the... So this iPossessible, or I think the better word for it's not possessible, it's anything that can affect the possession value. So maybe the better word would be possession effect.
Possessor. Possession force. No. Is this still the we're rewording possessible?
Yeah, I think I'll just keep possessible for now. Can't think of a better word for now. All right. So, all right.
Oh. Hey, what's up?
Just for fun, I'm just going to call this spooky effect, or
Fantastic.
Spooky.
Spooky, scary skeleton. Love it.
Yes. All right. I'll come up with a better name because that's be more proper. All right, interfaces. Implement event. Perfect. Spooky. Now, what it is, so what's happening here is that, where's the, so I'm back in the dummy object, which I won't need this here. So if something runs into it, this could be the character. Right now, it's only going to be the character. So right now, it'll be fine for you guys. The only thing that's going to have this spooky event, spooky action. We'll call it that, or effect. Spooky action. Yeah, we'll call it that. Spooky action. So what it is that this actor, so anything could run into this object, not necessarily the first person character, but anything with literally a collision box could trigger this. Now, we could just keep it cast the first person character, which is fine. That works because that might be the only thing that could actually affect possession level. But I'm going to make it a little more broad stroked, which anything could affect it. So I'm going to cast is spooky action. So effectively, a spooky event has occurred. I call it spooky event. Yeah, maybe that's actually a better word for it. Spooky event. So, spooky event has occurred, which I'm basically sending a message to this actor that you've run into something that's going to make a very spooky event. Basically, a scary event has occurred. Now, if this was, let's say, a ball that just rolled through it, it would get ignored because it's an interface. So if it doesn't have this event, it just gets ignored. But the first person character has this event. So if they have this event, what do I want to do? So now I have control. So anybody right now could call this event from any other blueprint. And now it all comes back to the character saying, all right, what do you want to do? Well, we'll just go tell the game mode to change possession value. Which I guess the spooky event, we should give it a value to how much it changes by. Yeah, let's try it. Value. Scare value. And since it's a dummy, I could create my own value for it. Scary factor. So I'm just going to make this a float, make it public, so I can basically make multiple of them and change it however I want. Drag that in. Boom. Which now I got a first person character, whatever this value is, I'm just going to feed it into here. So the events that occurred is that someone ran into the dummy. I'm going to say that the spooky event has occurred. If it's the first person character, he will run this event, which I'm just going to directly change the possession value, which in turn is going to go to the game mode and change the possession value. So literally nothing has changed. We just made all this code a lot smaller. Oh, now it's cool. I forgot. Now I have the spooky value here. So where's the dummy? Details. There's the scary factor. This will be a 10. I'll make this one 20. So 10, 30, 40, 50, 70. Everybody with me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, please ask questions. And if you don't like this, let me know. I'm just showing you how it approaches. But
Mhm.
now I have some interactions, and now this possession mode is now being effectively controlled here. So, like for example, event tick. Let's actually make a UI interface for how spooky the level is right now. All right. I'm going to create a HUD element. Or is it under blueprints? What the hell's a HUD? Okay, there we go.
It's the,
Widget blueprint. Widget blueprint underscore player UI. Oops. Why did it create two of them? Interesting question. No, that's not the one I wanted to keep.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh. Oh, looks like we have a dead asset. All right, fix up directories. All right, cool. UI, widget blueprint, player UI. There we go. So I'm just going to create a small little object here. Designer, let's get a progress bar. That's fine. Percent, perfect. We need to bind this. Get percent. We'll call this possession value UI. Update possession value. That's more appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
New value. I think this is how I do a binding. So what I'm doing here is binding a value. Oh. How's the binding work again? I could do it a different way, but how's the binding work again? So it takes in no value. Oh. Can I do it this way? No, I'm not going to do this trick. This will be too confusing to explain. All right, we're going to do it easier way. So we're going to create a function, and let me remove the binding. Remove binding. Okay, we're not going to do it that way. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to create a function called update possession value UI. All right, so whatever it'll take in input, which is new value. By the way, what's your scaling on possession? Is it between 0 and 100?
Oops, sorry, you cut out there. What was that?
How does your possession value work between 0? It's 0 and 100, right? 0 and 100%.
I think we're gonna do 0 to 100.
Perfect. All right.
It's flat numbers.
Flat numbers it is. All right. So if that's the case, then over here on the graph, so whatever the new value is, it should be able to get this. Change, where's the percent? Set percent to whatever this value is. Perfect. So why I want this is in the details or game mode, first person HUD. I need to attach the HUD, I believe. forget. I think you do it on the character. Yeah, I think you do it on the character, not the controller. Where is begin play? All right, don't have one. That's fine. Add to viewport. Where's the... sorry, I have to look at the function again. U for add widget to viewport. What's the name of the function? Oh, I guess it could be added anywhere. So we'll do in the character. All right, that's working. So create widget. So we're going to create the, I'm going to create the widget I just made. I'm going to probably keep in a reference of it. It's not a bad idea. Just in case. Player UI. Player UI ref. Add to viewport. Perfect. There we go. All right, so now I have a little bar that represent right now, which obviously later you're going to get rid of it because I think you're doing like the screen's going to get narrow, a lot of other things going to change, which again, this will handle it. So now, anytime the possession value changes, there's most likely stuff's going to happen in the world. And again, so at some point, somebody's going to call this. So someone's going to change this value. The character could change it. Someone else could change it. It could be a number of things, right? Is everybody still with me?
Yes.
Or I need to go back, talk. Does any other questions so far?
I don't think so. I think it's falling pretty well.
Okay.
No.
All right. So some things are going to increase this possession value. Now, by default, it would be, let's say, something like this. So let's just do the easy method, which is, okay, I increase this value, and then in turn, I should also increase the UI, which then I would need to get, so here's kind of the backwards way. Get player character. So I could get the player character, cast it to a first person character, get this, get the player UI, change possession value to whatever this is. So this would work, which is if I update the value, I will update the bar, which this should now work, but I need my dummy back in. Let's give the dummy 10. Almost. So, so change possession value. Oh no, wait. That's the wrong method. Update possession value UI. All right, updating the UI. All right. Oh, is this a percentage of 0 to 1? Oh, yeah, it is. Derp. So let me just go to here. Divide by 100. Or, actually, maybe the more proper way. Maybe I'll just do the calculation here. So I take this value divided by 100, whatever the percent is, and add it to here. That seems a better idea. So possession value is 0, whatever this new value coming in is. Let's say it's 10, and it's just adding 10%. Oh, yeah, so actually it's not here, it's whenever I'm going to, if I'm representing this as 0 as 100, it's whenever I actually output it. So what we're going to do is this. Let's do a getter function. Oh, actually, this is fine right here. Divided by 100. Depending on how you want to store this. Do you want to store it as percent? Do you want to store it between the numbers 0 and 100? You can change this however you want. So right now I'm storing this as a number between 0 and 100, and I'll return this as a percent to the UI. 10%, 20, 30, blah, blah, blah. Now, in theory, there could be a number of things that need to be aware when the possession changes. Not only just this UI element, it could be sound, it could be other objects in the scene, other enemies. There could be multiple things that need to know when this occurs. Does everybody understand that problem? Because now I'm about to get to what I was wanting to show off.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's aware that some people need to know when this occurs. And the problem is that when I run into this dummy, I don't want this dummy to like notify everybody, or a first person character to find everybody that should be notified. This game mode should notify everybody who needs to know about it. Now, that structure is usually hard to implement, but Event Dispatcher works pretty well. Okay, so now we're going to create the Event Dispatcher, which this is, we're going to call this ED for Event Dispatcher. Possession value change. Okay, so this little thing is going to basically keep track of anybody who is curious about this value being changed. So I'm going to break this apart, because you're going to see that I'm not going to actually talk about the UI in this code. So what's going to happen is when this occurs, we're going to say call this event. So what we're doing is that so people are going to hook themselves up to this object. And when I call this, anybody who's hooked up to this object is going to get notified that this has just occurred. Let me make sure. Yeah, we're going to keep it like this for now. Okay. So we get this, and let's say we want this UI to be aware of it. The UI has an event graph. I guess event construct is the way to go. Called after the light straight is constructed, depending on this. So I'm going to assume this is close to the begin play. All right. Game mode. Get the game mode. Now for this one, I'm going to cast it just for this demo because I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm just going to cast it for this, for the first stage to make sure this works. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to cast it. now what we're going to do, we're going to refer to that ed underscore. What the hell is it called? Possession value changed. There it is. So what we're doing is here. So these little gray dots are the thing. So what I want to do is bind myself to this event. So what I'm doing is I'm going to hook myself up to this object. What you have to do is give it an event to run if this would occur. So you can create a custom event, which is possession value.
Hey guys,
Change.
I gotta join. I got another thing. I gotta be at 8:30.
No problem.
I'm about.
Yeah, no worries.
We'll see you, Nico.
Catch you
See you
later.
later. Peace.
So when this has occurred, which I believe I can. Hold on. Can I actually add an input? Give me a second. Can I add an input to this? Yes. New possession value, which will return this as a. All right. Design choice here. Do we return this as a number between 0 and 100 or as percent, which would be a decimal? Which would you guys rather have? Would you just rather convert it to a decimal when you need it to and keep things between 0 and 100, or just always return it as a decimal?
You're saying who would then deal with that decimal versus
Well,
the percent?
it's just like when you're always, when
Like
you
what
want to get the
system?
when you want to get the possession value. If you're in a new object creating, would you want to get it as a decimal, which is a percent? That's a percent is a decimal. 0 to basically 0 to 100. That's basically 10%. Or would you just rather get the number 0 through 100? That's what I'm asking.
I'll ask Alfredo for that because he's going to be dealing with it probably the most.
We'll just say 0 and 100. That seems like the easier number. So we're just going to return this as is. Right, why is it called new param? Oh, I probably have to call it again. No. Hey. It's not called new param. Compile. It's called new possession value. Thank you. All right. Stick with me. You're about to see the cool reveal. So, boom, this possession value, which means now this guy will get notified when this occurs. So now I could do what I was just doing in update. So I could basically just run this function. I'll divide this by 100, so it's a percent. Oh. So this will do exactly what it did before. But let's say, for example, all right, so even though it didn't seem like much, we just created a really cool system here, which is, notice now, in this game mode, I am not referring to the UI at all. I just call this method, which will then tell everybody who is currently listening to this method that they can do something. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think so.
Here's an example. Do you have any other sounds in this project, like a scream or something? Or
Yeah, we should.
okay,
I think
so
they would be under Fmod.
Fmod.
Let's see. Is Drew in here?
It might not be specifically because I think I tied it to the ambience already.
All right, no worries. All right, so I'm gonna do something like this. Just I'm gonna create another dummy object. spooky, scary skeleton.
Shivers already.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Now, watch this. So this is where the big reveal should happen. This guy's currently sitting in the scene. Let's say, for example, I have a skeleton that's going to chase the player, but it's only going to do so when the percent is high enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So what am I going to do? Well, on begin play, I'm going to get the game mode. I'll cast it to my possession mode because I know that's what we're playing. And I want to bind myself. Actually, I'll type it the other way because it's called ED possession value change. There we go. I want to bind to event to it. So I want to know when the value gets changed. Such that I'll create a custom event. Activate spooky, scary skeleton. I'll connect the events together and I'll print saying skeleton is on the hunt. Actually, I'm only going to do this. Oh, that's right. Easier way to do it is just because it has a value to it. You need, just do this. Instead of saying bind, do ed under possession value, do assign, because it'll create it for you. So it'll just automatically do it for you. So I'm going to call this activate spooky, scary skeleton. Now, if the new no, I don't want to do that. If the new possession value is greater than or equal to 50, skeleton is on the Everybody see what I just did here? This object is now hooked itself up to whenever the value gets changed. And if it gets changed, I'm going to check to see if it's the value I'm looking for. If so, then I'm going to start it. So what's going to happen? And look, I have changed nothing to this class. I have added no event, no extra code. And all that's going to happen is while this thing's in the level, once this hits 50, that invisible object is going to yell out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Does everybody see what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
So, what this solves is that any new blueprint that you make, if you want to know what the current possession value is, you can just hook yourself up just like this guy and wait for this event to occur, and then I can do something. Everybody else has the ability to change the possession value. And if it's so, it will then in turn call everybody that currently is listening. So now you kind of have this system in play where I can send out saying like it's running around. So to give it some context, give me an example. Give me a challenge in this room.
A challenge that would affect the possession value, you're saying?
Yeah. Tell me to do something in this room. Any ideas?
I think if I understand what you're asking,
Yeah.
something you want to implement is passing past this statue here. He's got a cone in front of him that he sees
Yeah.
you. And if you walk in there, it should increase your value.
Perfect. So is this a blueprint?
It does have a blueprint.
I believe
would
he's
the
in
blueprint be?
blueprints full.
Yeah, it's in blueprints. Should be on the actually first person blueprints. camera.
this camera?
There we go. Yeah.
I'd probably rename this to something else because there's actually a Unreal class called Camera, but that's fine. But let's say, okay, so is this this is what it's looking for? This will detect the player?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, then what I'm going to do is here. How much do you want me to change it by?
Let's call it 35. Oh, that works too.
I'll do it by 10.
Sure.
If I run through the level.
Oh yeah. We do have a bit of an issue with it not sensing it when you're too close.
How are you sensing it? Are you just doing a raycast or what?
I just did it through the pawn sensing component.
I don't know what this thing is. What is this thing? I mean, it might be easier with a collider or a raycast, in my opinion. I mean, how is this thing supposed to work? Is it just turning back and forth, and if you run into it, you get hit?
That was the base design, is that the basic statue that we have right now was that it would, if the player is within its cone of vision, it would detect the player. Right now, what it's supposed to do is just push you back to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all you wanted to do is that if the player basically runs into more or less whatever this line is, it just triggers it. So I'll tell you, I have no idea what this thing does. Okay, so all right, maybe it will work. Let's see how it works. So what does pawn sensing do? If it works, it works. Why not? Never used it before. All right, what is this thing? Of course, this thing has no. Okay. Pawn sensing, hearing threshold. If true, component will how far the side of an AI can see in degrees. Use set to change the value at runtime. Okay. Wonder if it has a visual part of it for me. Aha, okay. All right, then. Probably just need to make it wider. Well, there's the possession value.
Yeah, there it is.
Obviously needs to be clamped, but working as intended. And as you can tell, all I did was this.
Yes. You have to, for each one that you wanted to use it, you have to do that event begin play function.
No, this isn't begin play. I'm
Or
remember this,
to call it before you can do that, or can it just do it automatically?
it can do it anywhere. So if you want to change possession value, all you have to do is to say get game mode, change the possession value. So for example, let me create another dummy blueprint. Create a trap. So all I'm going to do is that if something walks over this, so check it out. Here's this guy. Increase the dimensions a little bit. All right, see this? Just a trap.
Mm-hmm.
If he runs over it, increases his possession value.
Okay, you can, yeah. Cool.
If I get spotted, this drops it up really high. See? That's simple.
Wow.
Awesome.
Now, if somebody wants to know if it's been changed, then you do that. Then you're doing this part. The spooky, scary skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to give him more of an example. All right. Let's just do this. Here's the skeleton. If it's greater than 50, so again, let's start from scratch. What I want to do is that if this value gets high enough, I'm going to change its material. Just look at anything that stands out to me. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so this is, I mean, I could have it start chase the player, but does, so if the goal is, if the player's possession happens to get above some percent, I want it to change materials. That's all I wanted to do. So right now, this is a brand new script. There's nothing in it. All I would have to do is this. Game mode. Cast it to my possession mode, which we might actually see if we can improve on this cast part right here. So cast this. Then assign ED possession value change, which is I want an event to occur if the value has changed. Notice how it says the possession value has changed. Well, if it has changed, check to see if it's greater than 40. If that is true, change the material. Make sense? Small little script. So I got the game mode because the game mode, this game mode has this little event dispatcher, which basically contains everybody who's currently interested in this event, which is whenever the possession value has changed. Well, this blueprint is very interested in it. So if he's interested, I'm going to bind one of these red boxes to that event. This thing right here is basically this object. I'm just binding this red thing to it. Red are always events, so I'm binding an event to that little object. Such that if someone ever calls it, which actually this could get called from anywhere, everybody who currently has this event hooked up to it will get called as well. I'll do a second example as well just to show you. All right, so all right, let's watch that cube. See how it changed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give a second example. Where's this dummy? Actually, I'm going to create a dummy too. Or let's do blueprint, actor, spooky box. So all I'm going to do is create a cube that bounces in the air if the possession goes high enough. So simulate physics. I'm going to put this cube in the scene. There we go. So it's in the scene. Now I want to know game mode, cast to my possession game mode that I'm using, assign, I want to know when this event has occurred. If this is greater than 70, I will branch and I'll take this cube, add impulse, just going to make it fly in the air. Will not be big enough. Let's try that.
That's awesome.
Ooh.
That's
That is
spooky.
definitely a spooky event.
Everybody,
love it.
everybody kind of figuring out the pattern?
I think so.
All right, so again, hit me with questions. What's not making sense?
I think my one thing is, so there's the skeleton and the box both call to the game mode at the begin play. And I think there's one other thing that called it
Why
at
is it
different
at
points.
begin play? Is that what you're
Mhm.
asking? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, more or less, because I think
All right.
just to know, just so we know when to call that get and
So-
then cast.
What? Maybe I can. You know what? Let's try to shrink this down a little bit further. Okay, let's do. Can I make a delegate function? Hold on. You know what? Okay. Let me think for a second. So I could change this to. I can do bind notify possibly. Let me think. Let me think how I'd make this simpler. I could change that. Let me see. What can I? Parameters. Can I have a delegate as a parameter? No. So that wouldn't work. Nope. Go away. Go away. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. That's the one problem, which is I could create a list, but the list basically kind of reinvents the wheel. Let me think. Could do this all with interfaces in theory and get rid of the event dispatcher.
What's the problem you're trying to solve?
How to make this simpler without just basically like this does everything I need to do. I could remake this again without using this object if this part's not making sense. Basically, again, it's whether or not I just reinvent the wheel. So effectively, I can make this same structure without using it. All right, all right, I'll kind of reinvent the wheel. No, but I don't want to bind objects. I'd rather bind functions. That's way, way cheaper. So it's this part right here that's confusing you, right?
No, I was just wondering how we know when to call that. Is it always at begin play for the things that use it?
All right, you know what? Okay, good question. So why did I do the begin play? What's going on here is that this is an event. Does everybody understand that? This is something that occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is not part of begin play.
Okay.
This is its own separate thread. Why it's sort of hooked up with begin play is because I want this object at the beginning to basically hook its, I want this event to be hooked up to this object. And I do this in begin play because I want it to know it right off the start.
Yeah, it's like signed up for the mailing list, so to speak.
Yeah, it signs up the mailing list right at the beginning. I could, in theory, do this. I could have it do it at a later date. So let's do like the trap, for example.
Sorry about that.
You're all good?
Let's say the trap. Oh no, the trap just changes it.
That's what. Yeah, that's where I wasn't sure. So the trap does it there, and then the other one.
No. They're two different things. They're two different things. So the trap changes the value of the possession. This reacts to the possession being changed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's two different. Okay, it's like the two
This,
sides of the same coin, so to speak.
well, not the same coin. This, again, there's two types of
Listening
object in the
and-
world I see for your game, which is a object either changes the possession value or needs to react if the possession value changes. For example, the HUD. Does the HUD change the possession value?
Needs to react.
No, it just needs to react to it, which is update if it changes. The spooky box is reacting to my possession value changed. The trap is changing my possession value when it changes. So those are the two sides. I'm either someone's either changing it, or someone is
They're signing up to listen for it at the beginning, or they're
correct.
just
Someone's
sending
signing
it.
up.
Yeah.
For it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that answers it. Yeah.
Okay. So actually, I'll make this comment. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything I add might just complicate things. So I mean, this is pretty small where it's at. The only thing I could possibly improve is getting rid of this cast right here, which is, can I actually, all right. So the only thing I can test to see if I can do this, but I'm not sure if I can. Can I create a function that actually returns an event dispatcher? Get possession value change event. Event dispatcher. Nope. No. So I don't think I can return a dispatcher. You just have to go get it. So you'll probably have to keep this pattern here. Because remember, this, also just to be clear, this does not occur on begin play. This part right here occurs on begin play. This occurs on begin play. This occurs on that. The only reason why this is here, because I want to bind this event to this event dispatcher. All right, let's actually, you know what? Let's see if everybody's grasping it, and let's do a test. So I'm not going to bring up any of the settings here. Let's do a test together. So all you guys will try to solve this together. I want a, let's see. Let's create a actor that if I run into it, it heals me. Heal fountain. So I'll just at least do the setup. And then we'll create a All right, here's what I want. So help me program this. I want to be able that if I walk up and touch it, I heal by 30% and I then can't use it again. How would you do it?
Should I ask Alfredo, or I think I might have a general
Anybody.
idea.
It's literally the whole group here.
Um,
What would you do? So what has to occur?
well, when the collision happens with that collision box,
Perfect. So first the collision has to happen. Absolutely. So the collision has to happen. So I'm going to put the healing fountain right here. So if I go to the healing fountain, I'm going to heal. Then what?
we would get the game mode.
Why are you getting the game mode? So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Because this is gonna update the possession value.
Perfect. So change possession value. So what do I want to change it to? Let's say I wanted to heal by 30, I believe. So what would I put here?
So be negative 30.
Perfect. Do I need anything else?
No, that should be it.
All right, one more caveat for the appeal. I want this to only occur once. So once I heal, I'm out. I can't heal again. How do you do it?
Do you want to go as far as to make a variable of has healed that's
Couldn't you, I mean, again, I'm not a programmer, but I figured have something that was, is there some way for it to say that this is, can only be triggered once and then it's done?
yeah, that'd be
Like
the
in between.
Just make a Boolean. A Boolean represents true or false, right?
Yep.
If I turn it, the heal available on to be true,
you set that as a print. Yeah.
so if heal available is true, it heals. And then after
You
it's
set
done,
that. Yeah.
that's it. This would only occur once.
Cool.
So I walk up. Really high, heal, back to 100%. Says one more time because I got hit a little bit too much. Now it's being spooky ghost. Walk up. Boom. 50.
And if you were to go up, I wouldn't do it again.
All right. Let's do one last test to see if everybody's getting it. Let's do. How about this? How about we make an object becomes visible if the percent value becomes big enough?
That'd be super helpful.
Spooky sphere. All right. what should we do?
Probably at the begin play, you have to call it a game mode and do the same thing.
What same thing? I'm gonna pretend to be devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So cast
Choose
this to
call.
my possession. Okay, I heard that part. Then what?
Trying to think of the words of it. What is this?
I want to get the what?
Is it the possession value? Is that what you call it?
Nope, not the possession value because I'm not trying to change it.
No, the event. Yeah, the event dispatcher. You want to call
There
it?
you go. I want to assign a event to this event dispatcher, ED.
Like calling into the radio station, requesting some.
Exactly.
Mm.
All right, so I'm assigning
Oh
myself.
yeah.
Then what do I want to do? Check to see if what's true.
It's greater than or equal to whatever it is.
Give me a number.
5 or
35.
yeah, sure. Let's do it.
If it's greater than that value, what do I want to do? Well, fun little variable here. Is
Mhm.
the object visible? I can turn this off in the beginning. So when I place this spooky sphere, so currently it should be invisible. Let me turn it back on so we make sure it actually is there. There you are. There you are. I'm going to turn that off. It's visible. And if it becomes greater than 35, oh, I want set is visible. Set it to true. They appear.
Mhm.
Making sense?
Yeah.
So this whole structure is the idea is that you're keeping everything separate from each other, and I don't have to keep going back and changing this game mode. Because look how powerful this is. Not once did I actually have to change what this is. I didn't have to go back to change the game mode in order to handle different types of things that need to be updated or things that need changed. Nope. I create event dispatcher, which is a listener pattern. So it's not a special concept. It's just the idea of objects hooking itself up to a function saying, if it ever gets called, I want to do something.
Yeah, they always make it sound more fancy than it actually is. Like it's literally dispatching events.
That's exactly what it's doing. It's saying event has occurred, notify everybody that it has occurred, and they can then do whatever they want. So the whole thing I want to show here is decoupling, which is the idea is that objects, if you can, should have as little knowledge about other objects as possible. If you do that, then it's easier to add things and remove things, and code becomes easier to manage. Doesn't know now that for majority of your game, you probably don't have to change this blueprint ever again. Probably not, unless there's another mechanic you need to bring in. Let's say, I don't know. So depending on how your possession value works, it could change another way. Then yeah, you might make it another type of event dispatcher. But for the one right now, this does it. So if the value changes, people that are interested gets notified. They will do their thing, and this stays the same. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Any questions? It's okay just to tell me that I just confused the hell out of you too. That's fine. That's perfectly fine too. I'm taking a new method here, which is instead of making the code simpler, which usually involves having a lot more code, I'm just going to show you the advanced techniques so it's easier to manage.
Yeah, I like it that way.
Yeah,
I think
you
it does
could-
actually. It actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you could have done this with. You could have done this easily without the event dispatcher. It would just take a lot more code.
And that hurts you in the long run.
Correct. It could hurt you in the long run, especially depending on how you set it up in the beginning. This right now, very straightforward.
Yeah, trying to think. Yeah, because then, for example, because one of our things is, like, if there's a medium-sized cube, we wanted to lift it after a certain percent.
Correct.
Could you
and-
almost put a boolean in?
So this cube, so you
Yeah, I
only
don't,
can
think, I
lift
don't
it.
think that these are actually their own blueprinted objects.
All right.
If
So
I'm
yeah,
correct,
what you're
would that be
gonna
right for Joe and Alfredo?
You
Yeah, what I did is those are just
static meshes.
static meshes.
You can actually add a blueprint to it and just make it a blueprintable object. But yes, you're right. So all you'd have to do, it would be that type of object is not changing the value. It would be the type that is listening for the value. So it would be like the spooky box, which is that I want to know when the possession value gets above a certain number. If so, then the player's allowed to lift it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking about where that the true false Boolean value would be. Not in the player, right? It would be in the box still. Because is liftable. Put in the yeah.
Well, you could have a blueprint that what you could do is that either one of two ways. I'd probably just make it instead of the character. You could just have each of the objects. You can either pick up or not pick up because I don't know how you're doing pickup right now. So that when you shoot the interact at it, if you're doing the method I gave you in class for that method, then if you shoot the interact, the raycast to see if you can pick it up. When it interacts, check to see what the possession value is. If the possession, so that's the only thing I probably haven't added, which is just I want to be able to get the yeah. The last actually thing I'll add is this one. I'll add this last part to the interface. Get possession value. I think it's two S's. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a 2S on both.
All right, get possession value. Output possession value. So you might not need the event for it. You could just get the value. So for that box, you might just need to check it. So in this case, for here, I need to go now implement this method. Get possession value, just return this. So, yeah, sometimes you, remember, this is not a golden hammer I just gave you. I specifically use this if I want to listen when the value changes. For your pickup, I don't necessarily need that. Depending on how you do it. It could do this way if you want to just activate it when it's above a certain value. But if you're doing the check, if you want to check to see if it's heavy enough, or if you have enough possession value to pick it up, then I would just check what the number is. It all depends on how you want to phrase that question, which is that when I shoot my raycast out, is that what I'm checking to see if I'm able to lift it? Or is it that they're all unliftable, and if the possession value goes high enough, then I turn it on. And if it goes low enough, I turn it off. Both results would work. It just all depends on how you want to phrase it. All right. I'll let you guys chew on it. Think on it. Do small little things. If you have questions, you can ping me. But do small little iterations. I can promise you from what it sounds like you're doing in your game, if you're ending up making a lot of code, there's probably an easier solution. Possession, mechanic, there's probably an easier way. So at least most of the stuff I could see is that it should just be basically a couple, basically a line of nodes, like a couple of nodes. So most of it should be fairly short because they're all based around this value. Now, if it's AI, it might work a little different, but it all depends. But at least in my mindset, all this code should be fairly small. Whether or not you can pick something up, that's a small amount of code. Do baby steps. All right.
Yeah.
I need to jump off. Is there any questions before I go?
No. No, bleh. I tripped my own words there. If anyone else has anything, I don't think so. Thanks so much for
Yeah, this was super helpful.
giving us the time like that. Yeah.
Even having this resources.
Yep, there's a lot of cool tricks on Unreal. There's a lot of shit in there, but this is one of them. And from what you're describing, the Event Dispatcher is a good way to go. And if you kind of master how it works, it organizes a lot of things pretty easily. But it's not a golden hammer. Just to reiterate, you want to use it if you effectively need objects to listen for events. That's what it's for, Event Dispatcher. It's objects listening for events. If your thing doesn't fall in that category, then it might not be the best thing to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
No, thanks so much. I think my only thing was, did you want to, as far as, are you willing to kind of, if I made like just a text channel that just like questions, that way you don't have to get any notifications, but still we can ping you via the server this way?
Sure. Yeah, you just do at will. That's the best thing to do. Or just, DM me and I'll come into the chat.
Yeah, sure. And I put this, if you want to do it this way too, I just added a text channel. If you wanted to just mute everything except that, and then.
That works for me. That's my other stuff I'm working on.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for your willingness to help us out with this.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope it was helpful.
Thank you so much.
Yep. If you have more questions, let me know.
Yeah, and if you had that recording to post in here, I have one as well, but it cuts out every now and then.
Oh yeah, actually,